You know, we're a couple of days after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, and it's kind of set in, and I've had a couple of days to think on this, what's happening. And this could have been discussed many times over the last few months. Many people are saying something like this is going to happen. Will this bring about what's called a civil war in the US? And it almost looks like that could happen. Bible prophecy is truly unfolding before our eyes. It's so hard to keep up. And many of us believers in Christ who are seeing these things happen know that something is very close. Now, what's happening in the US is not an isolated incident. We're seeing this happening the world over in many different countries. Not just in-house, but also country against country and kingdom against kingdom. It's happening at a fast rate. But you know, what came to mind and what I'm seeing happening even after the shooting, just some of the things that's been said on the news and some of the supporters that were there really shows me where we're actually going. What I'd ask you to do is to watch this in full to get the full context, but also smash the like button, just so that someone who doesn't know Christ may come across this and learn the truth of who Christ is. Because even with all this, there is ultimately good news at the end. But have a look at what I've kind of seen over the last day or so.
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Yeah. You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much.
And this was high school?
Yeah.
What did they, do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
According to this person who says he was a classmate, the shooter would wear military style clothes or hunting clothes regularly as he was at school. So we're still learning a lot more.
Scott and I discussed the fact that he was a registered Republican. You mentioned he doesn't really have a social media presence. In so many ways, this might defy the normal expectations for the profile of the assailant.
He was a registered Republican who previously made a small donation to a Democratic-aligned group, $15 donation at that. At this time, there are no links to any foreign terrorism. The shooter is not well known to law enforcement here in this area of Pittsburgh, and so far, no motive released by the FBI.
The Wall Street Journal says the suspected shooter had explosive devices in his car. That's according to sources in Butler, Pennsylvania. Age 20, Matthew Thomas Crooks is the gunman. He was shot and killed with a sniper's bullet on top of that building about 300 yards from where the president was speaking. You're looking at the road where police had cordoned off this car late last night.
I hope there's some real soul searching that's going on, not just there, but at newsrooms across the country. You know, it was just a week or two ago, I heard people, talking heads on TV stations, calling for the assassination of President Trump. It's despicable.
The political violence that we experienced yesterday did not start yesterday. There have been concerns going back 8-10 years that the increasing vitriol, the increasing anger, the divisiveness of our political rhetoric has led to a volatility in our threat environment. So where we go from here, in large part, is going to depend on what we learn about the motive behind this attack.
You were there and you're still processing everything. But when you say we're going to come out of this stronger, what do you mean by that? You mean the country? You mean uniting?
Yep.
Yeah.
As a one, I feel like people are going to hopefully eventually start joining together and come out as one against the evil coming into the world or into our country.
Many of us that kind of go down the rabbit hole in terms of looking at the deep state and things that people are seeing happening all over the world. It's happening in Europe as well. Scripturally speaking, we're told in Thessalonians that these things would happen, that there's power at work, the lawlessness, the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. And I believe that that's been happening over a long time. And I believe we're coming to the part where the pieces of the puzzle are coming together and the big system, as it's called, is starting to come into place. And essentially what they're looking to do is cause absolute chaos everywhere, because their kind of slogan, the few people that are in charge, is order out chaos, and they need chaos in order for them to kind of get through their plans and things that they want. But while they do that, what they do is cause division like nothing else, and get people, what we call the ordinary people, to focus on each other and the differences with each other rather than the overall picture. And we're seeing that coming to fruition now. I do believe that we're on the precipice, and I believe if that assassination attempt had been successful, you would have seen all out civil war in the US. I believe it's very close that it could happen. If it does, it affects the rest of the world, goes into chaos then from there. But when it comes to prophecy, this is only one in the few. Jesus told us and gave us kind of signs of the things that would happen, that would lead to his return, and this is one of the things in terms of kind of kingdom against kingdom. But it also, when you look into him, and I believe it to be, what the people in control will do is cause race against race and all types of stuff, and religion against religion. They'll use anything they can in order to get people to focus and try to destroy each other so that they can get through their ultimate plan. But at the end of the day, God is in control. There is nothing new under the sun. From the book of Genesis, from the Garden of Eden, from that time to now, God knew exactly the enemy, what he was going to do, and the enemy went and did exactly what God knew he was going to do. Ultimately, at the end, Christ had victory at the cross. Even though we're being distracted by the things that are happening in the world, know that Jesus Christ is still here and present now, and you can find truth in him, that he did live, die, and most importantly, he rose again from the grave and defeated death, so that me and you can be made clean from the sacrifice that he made. And in the end, God is in control, and that's why I always end any type of video on that. You know, there's many people watching this who are worried about the things that are happening in the world, the things that are happening at the moment in the US. It seems like there's chaos everywhere. I'll end on the most positive note of all. God is in control, and keep the faith.